Thank you very much for making a date on the marketplace today. Welcome back. Now, the planned takeover of the operations and assets of ECG by Power Distribution Service Company Ghana Limited have been postponed. Persons close to the company have told Joy Business that the delay is as a result of challenges in completing the transfer of some assets. George Raffi has more.
Sources close to the Power Distribution Services, that is the firm that is supposed to take over ECG from today, say one of the issues that forced the change in date was clarity on ECG's debt position and how it will be cleared, which is yet to be finalized. There are also legal issues with the finalization of ownership of some assets and how the transfer would be done. The challenge has forced the firm to ask the PURC to review the date for the announcement of new utility tariffs, possibly to next week. Meanwhile, the Millennium Development Authority in the statement has also confirmed the postponement and approved the firm's request. The authority in the statement, however, maintained it is confident the transfer of assets would happen in the coming weeks. Media was, however, hopeful government, together with all the interested parties, would be able to finalize work on some of the critical issues to aid the smooth transfer of assets very soon.
And in a related development, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, is likely to announce new utility tariffs next week. This is what we've picked up from persons close to the Commission. There's more in this report.
We understand that the change of date is due to delays in finalizing necessary engagement with all other stakeholders involved in determining the new tariffs. It was the hope of the PLC to finish engaging the utility companies latest by Thursday for the announcement to be made on Friday. But sources say one of the utility companies this week came up with a concern that will make it difficult for them to start applying the new tariffs from Friday, February 1. Hence the need to postpone the announcement possibly to next week. However, Joy Business is learning that the PLC had already settled on the new utility tariffs, and this postponement has nothing to do with delaying on new tariffs. Joy Business understands that if the Commission is able to go ahead with the announcement, implementation of the tariffs would rather take off from the beginning of March 1. This is because the utility companies are comfortable rolling out review from the beginning of the new month.
Now, away from energy, a senior economic analyst with Databank Group, Courage Marty, has described the decision by the Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, to cut the policy rate down as an indication of good prospects for the economy. He was speaking on the business edition of PM Express on JoyNews yesterday. He added that though the country has made significant progress, care must be taken in order not to repeat the mistakes of the past.
All is well and good, especially if you consider where we came from. And I would like to roll back the hand of time and remind ourselves of the fact that the last time we saw single-digit inflation was early 2013, and that sustained from the single-digit inflation we recorded from somewhere late 2010, and it remained in the single-digit until early 2013 when, because of the exit from then IMF program and the election excesses from 2012, things went back up, and then we had remained in double digits until then, and then we embarked on both fiscal consolidation and monetary tightening to ensure that inflation comes back within the band of 6% to 10%. So it appears the trend we have seen in the last couple of years has pointed to a positive direction. So on that count, I can say all well and good, but with a lot of caution to the outlook.
Meanwhile, another economic analyst, also with Databank Group, Kwesi Boti, believes the Bank of Ghana could have delayed the cut in the policy rate. He adds that there are certain pressures that could throw inflation out of gear, and the committee should have kept the rate at 17% and monitored developments before making a decision.
The reason we thought, or I'm thinking that the decision probably is rushed or probably should have been delayed for March or even made this policy meeting, is that at this time we are seeing pressures on the market, pressures that could reasonably threaten inflation, things like currency depreciation. I think year to date, the CD has fallen, about some 2.5 or so % versus the dollar. Over the last decade, I think that is the worst start to the year for the currency. And of course, in the last 2 days, we've seen it stabilize around that around 8 to 9 level, right? But then we know that that 2.5% depreciation in just less than a month is an anomaly that we don't know what it's going to look like. And if productivity doesn't grow commensurate with that stimulation in aggregate demand, there could be pressures, liquidity pressures in the system that could trigger inflation. And then that is what I think, or those two principally, is what I think the Bank of Ghana should have been a bit more cautious about in deciding the rate or to cut the rate at this very meeting.
There's also some more business, and government over the years has embarked on several initiatives to improve the business environment in the country. But it appears for most small businesses, they are yet to feel the impact of these reforms, especially when it comes to the speed to get businesses registered. Charles IT, as part of today's Business Journal, looks into some of these concerns.
The paperless port system, online business registry are some of the few reforms that government introduced with the vision of turning things around for every business, especially small enterprises. However, for some entrepreneurs, they are really worried about the slow pace at which business regulations are enforced, especially when it comes to business registration. The budding fashion designer Patrick J. Nketia, whose emerging brand, Utama Africa, focuses on African prints. I first asked him how easy it was registering his business.
It was not an easy one. I picked up the forms and going through the process. I think I filled it twice. After that, we submitted countless follow-ups. You need to follow up every time. He gave me a particular guy. I followed up with him several times, and that's what it is. It wouldn't come easy.
So how many months or weeks did it take for you to get a business registered?
It took months because the follow-ups that I did, I wouldn't say it was in a particular month. I did follow-ups and maybe 3 months. Yeah, approximately 3 months, yes.
Business registration is one of the index by which the ease of doing business in Ghana is measured. But for entrepreneurs like Patrick, paying bribes to get through the bottlenecks of registration has now become a norm.
If you're not able to fight the system, you will not be able to go far. You should be able to be brave and fight the system. The system, and that's how it has been. Bureaucracy, how things go. You have to still find your way through, make contacts, people who know people, so that you can push your way through.
My next stop was the Basin Pork Shop of Ernest Mensah, a young entrepreneur who supplies pork to eateries across the country. He shares his experience with Joy Business.
Paid about 500 cedis. Yeah.
That should never have been the case.
Yeah, it shouldn't. It's way less than 500 cedis. But because of the system, you understand. So you are forced to, you want to do the right thing. But going through that process, I think you end up doing the wrong thing.
According to the Registrar General, you would need 10 Ghana cedis to purchase a set of limited liability forms. After lodging the completed forms at the registry, you then pay a prescribed fee of 230 cedis, after which the registrar issues a certificate in 3 working days, a timeline inconsistent with what entrepreneurs like Patrick and Ernest narrated to Joy Business. Despite chalking 114 at the World Bank Doing Business report, enterprises say there is still more to be done to ensuring a viable business environment. The more reason why the Multimedia Group, in partnership with the Department of International Development, DFID, unveiled the Business Enabling Environment Project, BEEP, which will in the coming days be seeking answers and solutions to the varied problems entrepreneurs like Patrick and Ernest continue to face. For Joy Business, Charles IT reporting.
Let's now take a look at one of our top stories today. And some aggrieved customers of GN Savings and Loans and Gold Coast Securities are petitioning the Securities and Exchange Commission to demand payments of their locked-up funds. We understand the bank's customers earlier also went to the head office to also demand payment of their monies. Our man Ebenezer Sabote is on the ground live and joins us with some more updates. Eben, you're welcome to the marketplace.
Hi, thank you, Abwaji.
All right, so what exactly can you tell us about the picture at the Securities and Exchange Commission.
So earlier today, some aggrieved customers of GN Savings and Loans besieged the company's head office premises at Asalam Down, demanding the management of the company to pay their money. They also threatened to bend ties, go on demonstration to press home their demand. Afterwards, some customers also of Gold Coast Securities came there, and later they came to the Securities and Exchange Commission to present a petition to the executive director. So over here we are at the Securities and Exchange Commission, where there have been a meeting between some of the members, the customers and management of the Securities and Exchange Commission. The meeting has been going on for more than 45 minutes now, and we entered few minutes. They asked the media to excuse them because they want to have a closed door meeting. So as I speak to you now, there has been a closed door meeting between some customers of Gold Coast Securities and the Securities and Exchange Commission. Waji.
Now, Eben, do we know exactly what the concerns in this petition are?
So their concerns are that they have invested huge sums of money with the company for the past 2 or 3 years. Many, some also say many years ago. And earlier they've been receiving their funds, their profits and all that, their dividends and all that. But since somewhere last year, they've not been able to get their funds again. They couldn't access their capital, they couldn't access their profits, and they are stranded, a bit stranded. So they need the Securities and Exchange Commission to intervene. This is because they believe that since the company is being regulated by the regulator, that's the Securities and Exchange Commission, they may have a reason to the situation, and they will know why they've not been able to pay them their funds up to now. So they need them to intervene so that they can access their locked-up funds.
Now, is it a matter of not having confidence in authorities again? Because I know that, the authorities have made some plans, some schedules to pay back everybody's, funds. What exactly are they demanding now?
They say they don't believe in whatever the management of Gold Coast Securities tells them again, because there have been so many promises, so many failed promises, they call it, because they will tell them, go and come this day. They will come, and at the end of the day, they will not get their money. Sometimes, too, they will tell them to, they will tell the customers to give them some time so that they will pay back the money. That time will elapse, and they will not hear anything from the customers. So it is time they petition the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is the regulator of the sector, so that they intervene. They will know why up to now their funds are still locked up and they couldn't pay them. So they are only pressing home their demand that their monies that they invested with the company should be paid back to them.
All right, many thanks for that update, Ebenezer Sabute. So we'll get more from you when you return to the office. My colleague Sabute reaching us live from the premises of the Securities and Exchange Commission, where some customers of Gold Coast, have petitioned the regulator for their locked-up funds to be released. Now, away from that, Standard Chartered Bank Ghana Limited, in a bid to remain the first choice for customers in Ghana, has launched the 360 Degrees of Reward. Executive Director and Head of Retail Banking, Henry Bai, has been explaining what exactly the 360 Degrees is all about and how customers can access and benefit from the package.
360 Degree Rewards is a reward program that we have put together, and the name 360 Degrees suggests that it's a comprehensive rewards program. We've put it together behind our card programs. So we've got debit cards and we've got credit cards. The purpose of cards and their facilitation of payments is to reduce the use of cash in our society, create more security for people who have to make transactions, and also enable them to do transactions instantly from everywhere in the world where they are. So as an example, there are millions and millions of point of sale machines where you can use your cards all around the world. And in addition to that, and if I'm not mistaken, the number is by now should be heading towards 50 million of point of sale machines all around the world where you can actually use your cards. So that's the background. So the 360 Degree Rewards are developed to ensure that wherever you use your card, on a point of sale machine or an online through an online process, you actually get reward points accumulating for you. So to set up, first of all, obviously you must have a Standard Chartered debit card or credit card. And then when you go onto sc.com, you have a menu where you can select 360-degree rewards. And once you select that, it gives you a few fields where you put in some information and you set up your own profile, select a password, and that puts you on the portal. So anytime you want to go in to check your rewards or to redeem your rewards, you basically go into that portal, put in your password, and you can access it and be able to do anything that you want to do on the reward platform. So even before you set up, you have already started accumulating points. So from the time when we started the reward program, which is August 2018, any transaction you've done on a point of sale or online has already started accumulating points for you. But when you set up your profile, it enables you to now see, oh, wow. You know, just today when I was talking about it, somebody just went online, set up his profile, and suddenly realized, oh, I have 30,000 points. And he didn't know that before. So your points are already there. Once you set up, you see them, and every time you use your card, you accumulate.
It's live on the marketplace. Now it's Friday, and of course we would like to know more about how the trend of performance on the Ghana Stock Exchange did for the week, and also we take a look at some African markets and their developments on the bears. Now my colleague, I beg your pardon, Bertha Atubiga of Gold Coast has joined me in the studio to give us an update. Bertha, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So how are the various markets faring?
Okay, let me say that some African markets are doing very well. Some are also in the negatives, like it's so early, like first month of the year, and they're recording negative yields or returns to investors. And one of such markets is the Ghana Stock Exchange that has lost. It's lost 2.66% already. That's the composite index has gone down by 2.66% from January 1st to January 31st. And if you look at its performance by close of trade yesterday, it inched up by 5.61 points, that's 0.22%, to close at 2,503.85 points, and that's representing a 1-week loss of 0.4% and a 4-week loss of 3.31%, and the year-to-date loss, as I mentioned, is 2.66%. However, within a period of 2 years, the market has returned about 40.95% to investors and lost 18.63% in 1 year to investors. So that's what's happening with the composite index. And the financial stock index, on the other hand, also increased by 0.51% by close of trade yesterday. It has a 1-week gain of 0.39% and a 4-week loss of 1.48% and a year-to-date loss of 1.03%. That's for the financial stock index, and these indices are the major indices on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, by close of trade, we had quite a number of shares trading. Over 300,000 shares, 328,225 shares were traded, and it gave us a value of over 1 million Ghana cedis. It's actually the highest we've recorded this week in terms of, yes, when we're looking at the value that we recorded this week, is one of the highest that we've recorded. And we had 9 equities participating in trading. We had 1 gainer and 1 loser. EcoBank emerged as the only gainer on the market. It added 3.88% to investors' capital to close at 7 Ghana cedis, 49 pesos per share. And we had EGL closing at 2 Ghana cedis, going down by 9.09% of its previous share price. So these were the only movers that we had on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited was the most traded equity in terms of volume, and it was the most in terms of value as well. And we had EcoBank being the second. FML also traded quite a number, 29,993 shares were traded in FanMob, and MTN Ghana traded 15,000 shares. ETI 1,600 equities were traded in ETI on the stock market. GGBL led the highest value again, followed by FML, then EcoBank, then MTN and StanChart. So this is what actually happened by close of trade. And we can also look at the volume and value from beginning of the year to end of year month, that's January. We had the year today, we had 5.38 million shares trading, giving us a value of 9 million Ghana cedis. That's from 1st to 31st
so now,
January.
Let's look at the the currencies, especially the dollar to the Ghana cedi. Has it recorded any appreciation or is still going down?
Well, as at close of last week, we saw the cedi still depreciating marginally against the dollar on the interbank market. And if you look at the year-to-date return, the year-to-date loss or depreciation of the cedi to these major trading partners, it's quite high. From last year to around last week, the cedi has depreciated about 10% or more to the major trading currencies on the interbank market.
Now, quickly tell us the outlook for next week as well.
Next week, we are expecting Societe Generale to continue to add up to investors' capital. We also expect some losses when it comes to gold on the market. We expect it to share some pesos on the market next week. We also expect volumes to remain quite stable unless, of course, we have a block trade on the stock market.
Now, let's quickly go to some African markets, maybe Nigeria or Kenya. What is happening exactly?
Well, we have a lot of happenings in Kenya. For instance, Kenya maintained their policy rate at 9%. They are expecting the economy to grow at 2.4% this year. It grew by 2.4% last year, and they expect it to even grow stronger than this, what happened last year. And they are also expecting inflation to be within the target. They are looking at 5 plus 2.5 or minus 2.5 points, and they are actually within that range, because if you look at their inflation rate, it closed December. Inflation rate for Kenya actually closed at 5.71%, which is within their range, and they are expecting it to be even be lower going forward in the short term.
Compared to Ghana, because they have single-digit inflation.
Yes, and so some African countries actually have lower interest rates when it comes to the policy rate and then the inflation rates. They are quite low as compared to the Ghanaian economy. And even in Kenya, they expect, the reason why they're actually expecting the economy to grow stronger than what happened last year is because, one, they are expecting the manufacturing sector to improve. They are also expecting that there's going to be an improvement in their healthcare, universal healthcare, and they are also expecting, they're looking at affordable housing and food security and some other factors. The president of Kenya has also come up with a 4 big project that he's looking at implementing. That is also very, very, very good. He's looking at he's actually considering that the economy, let me put it that way, the economy is expected to grow faster than they expect. And then one thing, I just want to get this very right, the 4 big projects for the, so he's expecting that prices of oil is going to go down. They're going to, food prices are also going to go down, and they also expect electricity prices to also go down.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Better for that update on the stock market. And before we go, Amazon has been forced to remove an array of products from its website in India to comply with new regulations. The rules prevent online retailers from selling products through vendors in which they hold an equity stake. The regulations are expected to have a far-reaching impact on India's commerce sector, which has drawn billions in foreign investment. On that note, we draw the curtains down on the marketplace. Thank you so much for being with me throughout the week. My name is Emmanuel Abaji. We will certainly bring you some more business headlines next Monday. Have a great weekend.